My name's Stewart Fielder. So I'm from Next Level Sales. So I'm based in Amersham. I'm really looking to kind of help founder-based businesses solve their sales issues.
Because you had a long career, like a lot of the people that we work with as certified partners. But tell us a little bit about your background. What sort of industry you work in?
Yeah, so I started my sales career in IT, so way back in the 90s. And I worked for, family founder-led businesses to start with, and grew with those businesses through IPO, through eventual sales to become, one of the largest businesses in the world. So I've kind of led sales teams at all levels. Kind of 15, 16 years I was in photographic industry. So selling to all sorts of clients from, press agencies.
And that's changed. That industry's changed so much.
Huge amounts of change, through the whole digital process to the commoditization of.
Yeah, I remember a story about Kodak, and that they were offering the first digital camera and things like that, and they were selling paper. They're like, oh, and I never catch on. And obviously, within 3 years, digital cameras were they're everywhere, weren't they?
Yeah, I think the first big trade fair I went with in the photography industry, Kodak had 2 booths. I think the last one I went to, they had 4.
Right.
A huge amount of change.
Yeah.
Huge amounts of change.
And there's a lot of businesses out there at the moment now that are experiencing that kind of level of change with digitalization. That's already kind of happened, but now with AI.
Yep.
So I think a lot of businesses now, the speed of change that happened in the industry that you were in with photography and IT and internet, etc. You've gone through all of that. But I think companies are now experiencing that speed of change now. So
I think so. And I think the whole way sales happens within business now, particularly in B2B, that whole kind of process is changing. So, the way that we sell to clients needs to change because, there's so much information available that clients are now, customers are now so well informed about your product, about what you offer, that, the whole conversation changes around from, kind of pitching the product, pitching what it does. They all know that. They're looking for the credibility. They're looking for those other things. So that whole kind of game has changed considerably.
And you can see how that now naturally evolves because, like I say, people can now get access to information way better and easier than they ever could do.
Yeah.
So they've probably got a lot more opinion, like you say, about what their product is going to do or what they're looking at. So,
well, the whole process before, I think, used to be with sales guys. The job was to kind of go out there and get across what the product was and get across all those features and benefits and why your product was different. You're finding guys coming to the table now knowing all of that.
Yeah.
Knowing what the market is, knowing your competitors, knowing all of those things. Mm. So you have to kind of find a different way of communicating, a different conversation.
I think sales as we know it has changed because they're not required to sell as much as they are to answer the right questions, and people are coming more armed, don't they? Say, like I said, they know more about your business now because they can see everything they can. They can ask an AI to review everything about you. They can compare you more. Like go onto any website, it's like comparison site. It's like getting that. So that's how the market's changed. So what opportunities does that present then for businesses? In terms of where they're at right now.
So I think your need to differentiate becomes so much more important. And for me, it does come back to the people. Yeah. It comes back to the process, and it comes back to being absolutely clear about what it is that you offer and deliver.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's more information out there than there ever has been. Mm-hmm. But, that provides less clarity. And I think for businesses now to be absolutely clear about what it is they offer, be absolutely kind of clear about what benefits are.
Yeah.
Within all that noise.
I think that's the key thing there. And we talk a lot within the book about sales, about you can't scale chaos.
Absolutely.
But it's really about that, understanding. And I'm a true believer that you can, we're looking for the people that are looking for us.
Yep.
And I think people are doing much more research than they ever have done.
Absolutely.
Because their marketing spend, they spend the money they've got, they have to look after, and they're looking to try and make sure that they're getting, there's so many products out there, so many variations, anything you look at buy, there's a low, medium and high version of that. So finding the right one for finding the right product for you as an organization is vital. So how do you help solve these problems? What's the frustration, demand? What opportunities are you given to you?
Well, I think the people I'm, working with are usually kind of at a point where the business is kind of stalling.
Yeah.
So they are struggling with taking their sales, to where they should be or where they need to be. And that can be for a whole host of reasons. So the first thing we really need to do is understand that, is to understand why they're not achieving what it is that they're looking to achieve.
Yeah.
And, that can be for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really about understanding that clearly, to sitting down with the business and really kind of looking at where they are today.
And that's why we start with the workshop sort of format rather than going in, because I would say that kind of leads me into saying, like, what makes us different? What makes you different than, let's say, another consultant or a full-time hire? What makes you different?
Well, I mean, one of the things I did look at was the fractional kind of, management and fractional leadership. But one of the things that put me off about that is because, when you're going in there, if you're just going in kind of hitting it with a day rate, with a charge, from day one, you expect it to kind of deliver things.
Yeah.
We don't. Part of what I do is really that profit levers is the start of everything. That workshop is about us qualifying hard as to whether, there's something there that we can solve, there's something there that we can work with, that we're going to be able to deliver value to that business. So we're not just looking for, right, I'll come in and be hitting on a day rate. We're coming to provide a solution.
And that's what makes you different as a certified partner then, because we always say this, the reason we do the workshop is twofold, right? It's not just so we can, it's not just so we can sort of get a client in and get that in. We want to find out we want to find the clients that want to work with us, that have got a clear need.
Absolutely.
So we need to identify that need, because otherwise we don't get to go back. It's a two-way operation. If we take on a client and we're going to install a sales engine, it's because you believe that you can help them, right? Because we can't hide with our engine. We can't hide, it's not day rate. So you go in and, input is days, output is money. How's that different, from us, from the model we have?
We're not just going in and delivering advice. We're in there to look at strategy. We're in there to look at what, we need to deliver and making sure that that's executed. So we're delivering outcomes. We're really ensuring that we put the systems, processes in place, and that we stay with the business to ensure that those are delivered.
Yeah.
And those outcomes. And that's not done in a day rate. No. That's done in an outcome.
No. So the way we would work, obviously, is, regular contact. But in terms of the sort of certified partner model with the co-pilots, how does that play into the delivery part of it?
Well, it just takes away a lot of the kind of background noise from within the business. So, once we've been in through the workshops, we've understood where they are, we've understood what the problems are, and we look at what the solution needs to be. We can sit down and put those solutions in place using the resource that we have available to us to take away a lot of that kind of noise, to take away a lot of the base things, to free up time. And a lot of people work with are usually founders. They're usually kind of overworked.
Yeah.
There's usually a lot of stuff going on. So we're trying to find wherever possible that we can take away from them what those things are that we can take and hand to our co-pilots that we can do ourselves. That frees them up to do the things that they should be doing.
Yeah. And in terms of leadership, then the way the market's gone, and, I talk a lot about this because of, the recruitment side that I'm doing in terms of partners, but the market's changed, but, who's driving the change? For sales leadership, who's driving that change?
Yeah. I mean, I think, that has to kind of come from us. And I think that, the beauty of being in the position we are is that we're far enough away from, that day-to-day kind of business, but have a better understanding. But we also then involved in business enough to deliver that leadership, to deliver that change, to make sure that execution kind of happens.
And from our point of view, it really, really is a case of we want to install the systems, we want to create the playbooks, but then we're looking always to try and step back. We're coming in to work with the team. Mm-hmm. I know the client that you're working with at the moment, that you're working with the managing director and you're working with the sales director, and their vision is really cloudy at the moment, but you're going to produce that clarity through the workshop. And I know they're really excited about it, but how does Sales Rhythm help you, in terms of speaking to clients?
Well, I think that there's there's a model there, there's a framework that you can give to people that demonstrates that what we do isn't just, words, that there is an actual process that lives within that there is the clarity there, that there's a rhythm, that there's the engine, that there's the outcomes. So it makes that process a lot easier to kind of explain and to sell from that.
And I think from our side, we're not selling, we're helping. We're looking for people who want help. And, the clients that's why we go in quite early on and just try and just check the temperature, really, because we're looking for clients that want help.
Sure.
And that's really important. Absolutely. If they don't want help, you can't help them. A lot of this is founder-led businesses.
Absolutely.
And they're often too far in the middle, in the weeds of it, if you know what I mean. So,
yeah, so, that's why the qualification process is so important in all of this. We really need to understand that, A, there's a problem there, B, that we can help them solve that problem. But I think most importantly, that they want us to help, that, they need that help because, they'll often recognize that there's an issue.
Yeah.
But unless they're willing to do something about that and to change and so forth, then it's going to be...
I say all the time, we can help everyone, but it's not for everyone, right? So we can help everyone, but it's not for everyone. And I think from where we're at and people can verify this themselves with their own, searches and their own research and development. But realistically, the amount of time that we spend as sales leaders now, we're not spending 100% of our time on strategy. As salespeople, we're not spending, the stats are less than a quarter. Yeah. And it's worrying, So if you hire me, if I hired you as a sales director, realistically, I'd hire you as a sales director. You'd give me great strategy, but then I'd be paying you to be an admin, to be doing other things. And you know what? I think when you get to the point in your career where you really just want to focus that time and energy, you want to be working on people. I know how important the sort of people around you have been in your career in terms of how you want to help those people to grow.
Yeah, so. One of the driving forces of me doing what I do today for myself and what I really believe in and I want to take back into businesses is, I spend so much time within a lot of businesses not having the freedom to do a lot of things, with a lot of time being taken up by meetings, by things that weren't driving the business forward or weren't contributing to it. So there's a lot of noise there. And us going into businesses when we're not directly involved on the trenches, having that distance, but also having the co-pilots and having the tools behind us does allow us to very quickly focus on how we maximize the output on those. So, if we come in, you're not paying 75% of our costs for us to kind of be.
And then we're just finishing up on a 2-day leadership reset event with Matt. How's that kind of brought it all together for you in terms of what we do? Because we've got clear on our vision for what we want to do, but how aligned is we have one model. I always say that. So your business you're affecting all of the things that we teach into your business. So you've got your own co-pilot and, so that's keeping you busy. But even having 2 days out of your business, I know I've seen you in the group chat. I know you've been having conversations and, co-pilot. Who's your co-pilot?
Jonathan. Yeah. So Jonathan's kind of keeping everything ticking over. I've seen the messages come in and pop up. He's pointing stuff out. So, that does kind of give me the confidence that things are happening. That, you can kind of step away.
That's that daily rhythm.
It's a daily rhythm. It's a daily rhythm. It's the basic stuff. It's the stuff that most sales guys really hate doing. It's the admin stuff. It's the important day kind of grind.
Yeah. And I know when I was doing that, I was looking for things that were really, really, worthwhile of my time, but really keeping me in that same rhythm of that. Cause, when you've got to stop, if I'm in sales mode, if I'm in back-to-back calls, I know that my colleague, Kathleen, my co-pilot. So she's sorting the rhythm out. She's reviewing my sales calls. She's prepping my meetings. She's doing the reviews. She's doing all my sort of research that I do before calls. And having that consistency is what helps me run my business. But ultimately, I'm then well versed to be able to help other people with the exact same system. So that's been really helpful, mate. Anything else you'd like to add about kind of the last couple of days?
No, I just think it's been really kind of useful, to see how that flows throughout the business, as you say, to what you're doing, to what we're doing. But also, for me, it's about having, the other sales directors around the table, other businesses, and listening to how other people do things. So there's a common thread that runs through. But the beauty of this is it's still our business. It's still other people's businesses, and we're still building the businesses we want to build. but with the right toolbox, with the things we need to kind of deliver that.
And as we expand that out, the certified partner model, I think we can see the benefit that we have there. And you heard it from everyone else, and you're echoing the same sentiment that, we're all in this, we're all leading into a similar model, which is respectful of our own times, but also it's a win-win, right? We only work with a client where we know for sure that we can help them to succeed, because we're taking ownership and we're actually doing the implementation. So
Absolutely.
There's no other product that I've seen out there, and no other way of working with an organization, certainly not a fractional leader, that's got the resources that we've got. And so I think that gives us instinct and ability with our prospective clients. But if there was someone out there thinking about possibly this sort of sales engine, what would your advice be?
Well, I think, you need to kind of sit down, work out if you want that change, if it's right for you. So what we can absolutely deliver is your structure around that. We can, give you absolute confidence in that. And I think that's what the model does. I think it just brings clarity, confidence. So
Hope's not a sales strategy, is it?
Hope's not a sales strategy. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. There you go. Thank you very much.